The Prime Minister claimed that the government would take on debt so that Canadians wouldn't have to, forgetting, of course, that it's Canadians who pay all of that debt through their taxes. And now they're paying it because they have the biggest household debt of any country in the G7. In fact, family debt in Canada is bigger than our entire economy, prompting our banking regulator today to force banks to take on more of a rainy day fund to face down future defaults that they expect will rise as a result of growing interest rates. The Prime Minister's inflationary policies are driving up interest rates on Canadian mortgage holders. Will you balance the budget to bring down inflation and interest rates so Canadians can keep their homes?
Hear, hear.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are struggling, and that's why we continue to step up with investments to help them out with dental care, with support for low-income renters, investments in housing, investments in supporting families. So at the same time that the Conservative Party is proposing cuts and austerity, we're continuing to invest. But if the Leader of the Opposition really wants to come clean with Canadians, will he talk about whether he's going to cut childcare for families or dental care for children or better health care services? These are the things that he will be cutting, Mr. Speaker.
The Prime Minister is, after 8 years, is imposing austerity on Canadians. I just told the story in French of a Quebec family who's seen their mortgage payments rise by 64%. She's making, the mother of that family is living in austerity by having to cut back on her expenses and probably move into a tiny apartment as a result of his inflationary spending. Even his finance minister admits that deficits drive inflation, and inflation drives higher interest rates on families just like this one. Will he reverse his deficits, balance the budget to bring down inflation and interest rates so Canadians can keep their homes?
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is proposing cuts in supports to Canadians at the same time as Canada actually has the lowest deficit in the G7, the best debt to GDP ratio of the G7, and we've preserved our AAA credit rating, and that's so that we can continue to be there to support Canadians with investments in them, in their families, in housing, in the kinds of supports that the Leader of the Opposition would cut. So he's just continuing his attacks to try and distract from the underwhelming election results he got last night.
Mr. Speaker, what is overwhelming is the debt that he has imposed on the backs of hardworking Canadians. Canadians who now face the loss of their homes as a result of his inflationary policies. After 8 years, the cost of rent has doubled. After 8 years, the cost of a mortgage payment has doubled. After 8 years, the needed down payment for the average house has doubled. And now, because of the massive mortgages that he told Canadians would be consequence-free, that they now hold and now pay higher interest rates on, many could lose their homes. Will he reverse these inflationary policies so that Canadians can keep their homes?